final team with a captain vacancy, and that is the Seattle Kraken, who have had a bit of an up and down start to the season. They took a big step forward last year, and it's an interesting mix of players, obviously being an expansion team, but they're a lot of fun to watch. And I've got one player in particular, a guy they drafted, is my pick, but we'll go to you first with our last team here, Seattle.
Okay, so before we get to my pick, I wanted to say that obviously the last captain of this team was Mark Giordano in 21-22. I always thought that was such a weird thing for them to do. To take a captain of another team and take him in the expansion draft and make him your captain and then trade him just a few months later to another team. It didn't make any sense to me why they even named a captain in the first place in their inaugural season. You know, Vegas didn't, and they had a few guys who were acting as captains. You know, they had a lot of experienced leaders in the room, but they didn't have a player with the C on his chest. And I always just thought it was so weird that they gave it to Mark Giordano and then traded him. Since then, though, Eberle, Gord, Larson, and Schwartz have all worn the A for this team. Even from their inaugural season, those four players have worn the A. No one else has worn it in a regular season game, that is. And those are the players that comprise their leadership group right now, in the absence of Mark Giordano. I think if they wanted to have a captain, it would be one of those guys already. It just doesn't seem like they're ready to name a captain yet. And I think, you know, if my logic is correct here, that means they're waiting for another player who they drafted to come up and seize the job, the role of captain on this team. I think that can be either Matty Beniers or Shane Wright. But if I had to pick, I'm leaning towards Shane Wright. I'm saying that I think they're going to wait in a few years, name Shane Wright captain. It sounds weird saying it right now because Matty Beniers is the more established player. And then, of course, those four alternate captains who I named are more established players, are part of their current leadership role or leadership group, rather. But I think Shane Wright, even though it sounds weird now, would make a perfect captain for this team. He has all the abilities and qualities that you want in a leader of an NHL team. And I feel like his reputation got a bit tarnished after being drafted 4th overall instead of 1st overall. And I feel like that whole scenario was blown out of proportion. Don't forget, Shane Wright was an alternate captain of the Kingston Frontenacs at 15 years old.
It's true.
After receiving exceptional status to the league. And then the following season, mind you, there was a 1-year gap in between because of COVID, and they didn't play a full season. But the very next year that they played, he was the captain of the team. He has played internationally and has worn letters there. He has all of the leadership qualities you expect out of a good young player. And I just think if Seattle wants to go this route and wait on a player that they've drafted, Shane Wright, to me, would make the most sense. Despite the fact that they already have, you know, a good leadership group and another young player in Matty Beniers, who I think could also make a good captain. But to me, I'm just going with my gut and leaning Shane Wright, but not anytime soon. He's not even in the NHL yet. I think they're content to have those four players in their leadership group for now, and maybe even for the next couple years. And then eventually the second captain named of the Seattle Kraken could very well be Shane Wright. What do you think on that? You seem pretty surprised that I went with Wright.
Yeah, no, I kind of was surprised, but I mean, I could see it. Like, you know, the common theme with a lot of these guys around the league that get named captains, they're high picks, right? And certainly, I think the draft was a big learning curve for him, falling to 4th overall, and we all saw some of the clips. You know, he staring down Montreal, and he thought for sure he was going to Arizona at number 3 in that draft and whatever. But time goes on, and I think that he's going to learn from that and be a better player and a better person because of it. And Alan Atmansky, our good buddy there, who covers the Kinks and Frontenacs, he would love the fact that you said that he became an assistant with them at the age of 15. Look, I think one day he will be a part of the leadership core with this team and be a big part of the Seattle Kraken when they're ready to contend for a championship. But I just have to go with Matty Beniers. I really like this player. He's established already, Calder Trophy finalist last season. And to me, Matty Beniers is just, man, his personality and just the way he is, it's infectious. Like, that guy is so full of energy all the time. He's always got a smile on his face, and I just think is a really positive guy. Whereas I think, at least for right now, and it's understandable because Shane Wright is still a young guy as well, but I just think that he lets things bother him a little too much as of right now. That's something that he'll have to work through, and that's just an opinion of my own. But I would go with the guy who's established right now, who's going to be a cornerstone piece for your team for years to come, we think, in Matty Beniers.
And listen, that's a fair pick. I had a feeling you were going to go with Matty Beniers, because it really does seem like they're waiting for one of the young players that they've drafted to sort of come up and seize the position. And you know what? For Shane Wright, I'm not willing to bet on it because it is the more unlikely scenario. I just think it would make a lot of sense. But at the end of the day, it might come down simply to timing. And if Beniers is ready sooner to take on the role than Shane Wright, whether that's, just because he's been in the league for longer or, he's producing more already, both of those are true. Then, so be it. And it comes down to timing, and he's named captain. But I just see a world, if everything goes well development wise for Shane Wright, that he could be a captain of this team. And so that's why I picked him. But both are I think, good options. And you know what? The 4 players who are currently wearing A's, any of those guys could be good options too. Another player, one of their best players on their team, Jared McCann, that could be an option as well if they wanted to go that route. So
definitely,
it all sort of depends which direction they want to go. It is odd, going back to the Giordano thing, that they ever even named a captain. Maybe they did it so that the very first one, wouldn't feel like such pressure years down the road if they gave it to a young player like Beniers or Wright. But I mean, for those reasons, one of those 2 young guys is going to make a great captain on that team.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I thought it was weird that they named Gio captain, but also, I mean, it is Mark Giordano, and he had been a captain for a long time in Calgary before that. But it was just weird that not long after he was shipped off at the deadline to Toronto. So anyway,